Hi. So I was saying to a few folks in the room, like I really do look forward to this event. That face-to-face event that she was saying is amazing, and a chance to be amongst peers and to really bounce things around, learn, vent, share is really key. So my name is Ryan Hoyan. I am the manager of energy and climate change at the city of Guelph. I'm just gonna kind of put a smattering up here on some of the stuff that we're doing, and probably really similar things that you guys are all facing with. But I'd like to kind of carry on that conversation that we're having about, how do we actually get things going through the different organizations. So quick agenda, some context and background in the city of Guelph. We're all municipalities, but we're all different. Same but different, right? Some of the initiatives that we've been doing, and I'll touch on them a little bit. And then also just kind of flagging some challenges, and in each of those initiatives as well, the challenges that we kind of went through. Really a brain dump. So the other thing is too, and if we're allowed to by our partnership folks, is if you guys have questions or thoughts or ideas, shout them out. I'm easy going. Okay, so quick context to the city of Guelph. Where the population of about 148,000 continues to grow. So those are 2023 numbers. We're a single tier city, so our facility portfolio, we have admin buildings in City Hall, sports buildings, community centers, and cultural centers, I guess, too. So civic museum, performing arts, but also our ice arenas and pool areas, fire halls, EMS, libraries, police. Libraries and police are kind of weird because they're kind of a separate board, but we keep them in our energy boundary. EMS as well, we kind of help out the county with some of those. We have locations that are outside of the city as well. Transit garage, so it's not a separate agency, it's part of the city. It's all waste, wastewater treatment, water supply, and booster pumps. And so, well, with the water, we have very limited treatment because we're the largest municipality, or largest area, I guess, that uses groundwater for water sources. We literally just take it right out of the ground. Maybe we put a little bit of stuff in it, but very limited treatment, and we're getting into households. Fleet. We've included that in our energy boundary as well. So fleet. So our typical fleet makeup is public transit buses, so 40 foots, mobility buses. Our bus fleet is probably about 80 buses right now and growing with the population growth. Sorry, 80 40-foot buses. I think it's like 10, 15 mobility buses, and that's what we do. Ambulances, fire trucks, solid waste packers. Solid waste packers with the whole producer pay, circular materials, that's going to be changing as well in terms of how we do our collections. But Guelph is unique in that we do our collections as opposed to contracting that out. Ice resurfacers, light duty trucks, passenger vehicles, construction and landscaping tools, and all that stuff is also considered within our fleet. So corporate emissions, took out some numbers here. So 18,000 tons in 2023 on the corporate side. Our community emissions, 835,000 tons. Works out to be about 2% of broad community. Sorry, these are 2022 numbers though. And we'll get into that a little bit, but I don't know if you guys are seeing it, but community emissions are going back up as we have opened up for work. Gotten out of COVID. Energy and climate change team. So that's who I represent. Deepa is also a member of our team. We have 5 team members in total. So myself, 4 other project managers. We're down 1 team member recently. Graham's last day was Friday, which is a sad thing for us, but he's going on to bigger things at Conestoga College, so that's good. We reside within what's called the Facilities and Energy Management group. So very capital infrastructure, let's say vertical infrastructure focused. Parallel teams to us is our corporate building maintenance, which is a centralized maintenance that kind of goes out and deals with all of our facilities. And then also our facilities design and construction team. So they're kind of the project management team that looks at the design and construction of facilities and retrofits. We're kind of an odd duck because we do that too. So we're also project managing our projects and implementing them, managing the construction of energy retrofits, providing design review as well. We're kind of like the internal consultants for the city of Guelph. So we work with other departments, try to understand what they're doing, help them with solutions for that. We're also doing other things like utility bills and tracking of data, doing all the reporting and all that stuff, hosting training sessions and you name it. So we're kind of doing all that. Our capital budget for this year is 1.15 million. That took a haircut. We were supposed to have 1.65. Things pushed it down because higher tax rates. So we did that, and then now the mayor kind of flexed his muscle, and so now we don't know what's going to happen for 2025. That may come down a little bit further, but we're lobbying for that to not happen. This has grown. So I've been with the city for about 7.5 years. When I came in, it was myself. There was another person there who's no longer with the city. We didn't have a budget. So that was something that I really wanted to push forward. We needed a line. It's grown from like 500,000 and consistently been growing. So it's been very consistent since 2020, I'd say, thereabouts. I think that's, I don't want to chop on that. Further context, so we're just seeing our facility side of things. These numbers aren't exactly accurate, GHG factors and all that stuff, but it gives you a general look and feel. So each of these bars is kind of the last rolling 12 months. So would represent a year's worth of data. And you can see we're kind of trending down, COVID hit, and we climbed back up, and we're kind of bending that curve back up again. So we're kind of back at that COVID-ish level, and we're still trying to move forward with that or move down with that. So we're seeing good progress with our facilities. We've had some big projects that have helped with that, and we're going to keep doing that. Our typical energy resources, I mean, big on electricity, natural gas, and that's biggest. I say district energy, Guelph did not do well with district energy. Let's just put it there. But there is a facility that does use district energy-ish. And then something that's not on here because I couldn't fit it in, but there's a small little line from propane. I would say so. Yeah, so I guess my time, we did a retrofit and an expansion of Vic Road Recreation Center around here. Guelph Police Headquarters kind of got expanded around here. So that's a great point, Tom. So we're going to be taking on 2 new facilities. We have some small stranded assets that are also kind of feeding into this, but I wouldn't say that's a huge blip. Fleet, I wish I could give you the same story. We are kind of roller coasting along, COVID, same thing, impacts and slowdowns, but we're back up. And it's something that we really do have to look at. We are doing a lot of work on electrification. Markets just aren't there in terms of the equipment for our bigger use vehicles, but we're getting there, and I'll get into some of that too. So there's a learning curve on that as well. Anecdotally, so we do have some Chevy Bolts for our small little vehicles. And we have this pool vehicle at City Hall that everybody can use. I also have a Bolt at home. So I hop into this car and I take a look. The first thing, of course, I'm going to look at is how many kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. And the bloody thing is at like 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, and I'm getting like 12. You know, it's like, so kind of that culture thing, right? You gotta really think about how do we train these. Yes. ISO 50001. So This has been a project of mine, and some of you that I know for years. It's been a project of mine in our group for years. We were the first municipality to hit corporate-wide certification in Canada. I think also in North America. The benefits, again, formalized existing processes. All of us in the room are doing reporting. All of us are doing the energy reviews. All of us are thinking about design, training, all of those things. So it helped us kind of formalize on that stuff. Another thing is that top management support. We never really had an energy policy. I know a bunch of you in the room in other municipalities had strong policies. We just never did. But our policy is very motherhood. And I'd say the big thing of it is more that it's really somewhere for our CAO and DCAOs sign on the dotted line to say we support energy targets, all that stuff, and then help it kind of disseminate to the rest of the function. Whether or not that's heard, it's another thing. Energy reviews, so something that we have to constantly work on and maintain. So going through all the different facilities, we're doing it at a corporate kind of spreadsheet level. We're doing it informally as we go through our facilities and looking at opportunities. We have a hopper of projects that we're going to do. And it's something that we also want to work on in terms of doing some more formalized kaizens, energy kaizens on our facilities and even our fleet. And part of that on that fleet is, bring those people in, right? So fleet, as we saw in that data, it's a big energy use. It's probably about, I think now it's 60% of our emissions corporately. So if that's the case, let's bring the fleet manager into the energy team. Let's get them kind of thinking about that. So that helps with that top management support. And again, these people come. And then continuous improvement. So we always say it. It's hard to achieve. But I do want to say something. The only requirement that ISO 50001 has, and I know I have my take on it, and I oversimplify things because I'm a bit of a cowboy. My colleague Tijo, he'll say otherwise, and he'll say these are the details, and you gotta think about that. But the only requirement that that ISO 50001 requires is continuous improvement of your energy management system. So all it is just saying, are you guys looking at how you're doing things? Are you improving on how you're doing things? It's not saying you have to reduce your energy down, you have to reduce your emissions down. It's none of that. So it's just really saying, are you paying the attention to that system in the way you manage that? Challenges, corporate-wide training. So we do have kind of onboarding videos and stuff like that, but how do we kind of get it deeper? How do we get to those people to really embody it? That's always a challenge. Also a challenge to even get these people to do that 8-minute video. Like, I don't even think it's 8 minutes. I think it's like 7 or 6. And there's like literally 4 questions to test your knowledge. And it's like, I don't know, do we have an energy policy? Like we made it very simple, and it's still hard to get some people to kind of do that. And there's an access thing. Our transit bus operators don't sit in front of a computer like we do. So getting those things, you have to think about that equity then. Getting others to really understand what it is, kind of touched on that. But then I kind of answered, do people really need to understand what ISO 50001 is? Do they need to know what that certificate means? If it's the spirit of it and us getting greenhouse gas emissions and the top dog is saying that we got to do this, then maybe it's doing enough, right? And then we help coach them along to just kind of be part of it, but not knowing that they're part of it. And then the effort required to maintain. So I'm not gonna sugarcoat it, but there is a fair bit of work to maintain these things. We have to get audited again in July or June. So we're setting that up, but it kind of keeps us honest, right? So if I was just kind of doing this willy-nilly, knowing me, I'm just going to let things slide. And so at least it kind of lights a fire under my butt, right? Guelph Greener Homes. So this is one of our community things. A lot of us have this. I'm going to tip my hat to FCM. They gave us $10 million loan money, $5 million grant, 0% interest of loan. We kind of snuck in there. City contributed $3.75 million. So $13.75 million of loan is what our bucket is. We've capped it at $50,000 per application per household. So if you're a landlord and you've got a slum of places get on you participate for each house. Something that we did as well as we did a low-income household grant. So we said, we know that heat pumps are the big thing. We know that that's where we're going to get the most bang for our buck for emissions to households. Let's kind of focus on that. And let's also give it an entry point for low-income households to participate in the program. So we have about $1.5 million of a bucket there, giving $15,000 to the household. They have to meet an income threshold, which is kind of number dollars per house, per number of people in the house, in line with the Enbridge type stuff. And the household value of $350,000 as per the 2016 MPAC assessment. And so we're really trying to look at how do we get that money out there to the people that need so that they can have entry into it. We opened up July of last year, July 31st last year. We have about 350 registrants that have kind of come in different stages within the program. We think that this money is going to probably reach out to about 600, 700 households. It's a drop in the bucket when you look at the broad community thing, but it's something, right? And it takes money. Like $13.75 million isn't something to laugh at, right? So that's a fair bit of money. Our challenge is reaching low-income households, like I mentioned. So we have to think about how we're marketing to the different groups. It's not just a broad welfare homes program. Let's start targeting to and communicating at the places where they're speaking or where they're listening. Deepa can attest this. There's a ton of hand-holding. So Deepa's our key point person in terms of fielding calls. What we've been seeing in terms of the greatest success is having somebody human on the other side of the line. And people really cherish that. And the questions come from all different angles, right? So it's helping them along. Is it a heat pump? Is it, I don't know how to use the portal? Is it, where do I find my impact assessment? All of those types of things, right? HER plus meltdown. That is wreaking havoc with our system. We don't know what's going on. And it's confusing everybody. Even when it was existing, it's also who's what and where. So that became a challenge. But that really does have a ripple effect because now the contractors are kind of pulling back, the energy auditors. So what do we do with that? How do we figure this out? That's going to increase our loan amounts because now we're not saying, you can account for that grant and we want the net. So, or people are saying, well, what the hell? I got to wait 30, 40 weeks for my grant money. So why don't I get the loan now too, right? So we're trying to really navigate through that and see how we can do this in the most fair way. I mentioned about the energy auditors. We are seeing some really bad energy audits there. Although they're certified under the EnerGuide stuff, so something to watch out for, and that also puts more of the need for us to help coach these folks along. And then the program flow control. So we do not want an HER plus end game. We want people to understand what to expect as they're coming into the system, if they're going to be allowed to do it. We have a lot of people sitting in our program doing nothing. So we also have to think about that. How do we kick those people out if they're just kind of staying there and just, using up space to ensure that we're getting the headroom to the people that are really in. So a lot of those different dynamics that you got to think about. Sorry.
Have you or has anyone in the room heard about any updates to the program? Like, I know there were rumors of
something came out yesterday. That's what I heard. I saw a lot of chatter on that.
Is it still like low? I heard it was low.
Low. Yeah. It's going to be done.
It's gonna hit right in time for election.
Yeah.
I don't blame them. We good? Okay, so we're talking about zero carbon building. We've got a couple of new construction projects that are under construction right now. So let's see. Okay, so main branch library. So this is in the heart of our downtown. I think I threw up a number. I think it's 180,000 square feet. I can never remember these things. But it is our central branch. It is super contentious. Jose lives in Guelph. He knows, he probably sees all the headlines. I presented at a grade 6 elementary school class And I talked about zero carbon buildings. I said, hey, yeah, we're doing the zero carbon building library. And one of these kids was like, oh my God, that's a waste of money. What the hell? I'm like, holy smokes, dude, like, chill. So, the whole debate is like, I am a big proponent for libraries. They help me with my kids and all. Like, I'm a support of them. It was an expensive project. It is in the heart of downtown. We do want it as a piece, a monument, whatnot. It does need it. So that's it. I'll say. South End Community Center. This is down on the south end. Twin pad pool. I don't think it's Olympic size, but it's gonna be a pool. Gyms, running track, meeting space. That's what it's gonna look like. Kind of down here. These two projects took a very long time to get to where it is. I moved to Guelph in 2008, and I remember they were talking about the Baker Library. And it was before that, right? Yeah. So it is taken forever. South End, probably very similar. When I joined eight years ago, there was a concept. And only now have we kind of gone to a place. It's also been a journey. You guys probably see this too. Oh, you know, this is a $10 million project. No, it's a $40 million. Oh, no, it's a $60 million project. And they were getting hammered. So that's what these two projects went through. People were just kind of shooting from the hip. Okay, this is how much it's going to cost. Then they find out it costs more. Then stop, start. And then, of course, they go and say, oh, you know, it's another $10 million. Oh, but that's all sustainability stuff. And it's just like, kills me. So something to think about is they're kind of going through what we did to kind of strategize on this. So kind of give it context. This hit the tender. Either it was published or it closed 2 weeks after the invasion of Ukraine. So we were thinking $80 million, let's go. And what do we get? 120, right? So it's like, oh, smokes, what are we gonna do? So what we ended up doing is we said, let's take on a construction management model. Not the best, I don't call it really a construction management model, but it is a construction management. So brought in the contractor or construction manager. Let's see how we can work with the architect, kind of shave off some things, make it a little bit more affordable, and we got it down. We didn't get down to 80 million. We got it down to, it's like 110, 115 or something like that. Didn't really do much, but we were still able to get it through because it was so long time ago. And this is everything that all of us are the headaches of. I want to tip my hat to Barrie too. So the city of Barrie, they helped us with kind of looking at different design strategies and integrated project delivery. Construction management is kind of somewhere in that array. And it helped us kind of think that way. The reason why I don't mention this as a true construction management is because these things came in at the later stages. Baker Library was weird because there was a developer that came in, kind of changed things up a lot. We went with the construction model at the tail end. Same with South End. We did it as a reaction to how much cost it was. My team is leading our new Guelph Transit Fleet Services facility where we're doing the design and construction for that. This is going to be the new electrified transit, I forget, like significantly large facility. We are looking at construction management from the outset. So we're just entering 30% design. Right now we have our RFP out for a construction manager. We want them in the seat to do the pre-construction services right now so we can have a better integrated design. Let's iterate that. Let's think about energy. Let's think about, you know, nuts and bolts design, but then let's also think about the practicalness of how to construct this stuff. So that's also what's going on. I'm sorry if I'm going way over time, guys. But cut me off. Design elements. We kind of spoke about it, you know, what's kind of that dim sum menu, I think was the reference. It's all the same stuff. Envelope, heat pump. Heat pump is unique, well, maybe for Guelph, we do have to do air source heat pumps because of the groundwater requirements. There are very stringent requirements for anybody to have two. So we just said, you know, we're just going to stay clear of it. So that does put challenges. You know, solar PV, embodied carbon. I have a sticking point with embodied carbon. Yes, we have to do it. Yes, we have to look at it. Nobody knows what the hell to do with it. the data is not clean. So we have to really think about what can we do with the lemons that were served. So, can we look at recycle? Let's look at the hotspots and let's look at how we can kind of reduce the impact of embodied carbon. I'll get into this part. So the challenge is consultants just don't understand it. They don't understand embodied carbon. They don't understand iterative design. So we need to push them on that. Something that we went with South End, because there is rinks, cold, hot pools. So, and we run our rinks 9 months of the year. We looked at ammonia systems, which we have in all of our other ones. So those are very efficient and all that stuff. We looked at CO2 as well, and we ended up going with the CO2 system. People are very nervous about that. We're talking about culture. Man, was there ever pushback on the CO2 system? There still continues to be. The reason why we went with CO2 is not because it's more efficient, but because it has higher quality heat. And that means we can take that heat and then we can use it a little bit easier for our heat pumps to heat our space, to heat our pools, all those things. It's just a little bit easier than if we were doing a ammonia system. So actually at the equipment level, the CO2 system is less efficient than the ammonia system. If we take it to the system level and be able to recover that heat, it makes the building more efficient. So that's why we went with it. If we blow the building up, you guys can all laugh at us, but that's something that we're trying out. I know that there's real fear. Why I say that, CO2 systems run at higher pressures, and that's why you get that higher heat. So it's something to think about. But it's a challenge too to procure for that. Simcoe is the only one that's doing it. I don't know. There's politics around that too. So,
question about the construction. Are you following specific standards for new construction, just like the boarding here? That's
yes,
that's CAC, that's
exactly. Yeah. So, and you raise a really good point. So I'm being very clear: design and not performance. Okay. And I'll be honest, it's a cop-out. Like I'm saying it straight up, it's a cop-out. I don't personally see the value for us as municipalities to be purchasing offsets to make this all nice and clean under the performance mindset. I see it as let's take that money and invest it in our other municipalities and in our other assets so that we can get them further along their zero carbon. But that's just kind of something that we're doing. This is certified to zero carbon building design. This is on its path to getting that formal certification. We're doing version 3, I think. Yeah, that's the latest version. So we're doing version 3. I feel that they've kind of loosened things up a little bit with version 3. The other thing is the TEDI requirements when we're looking at version 2. We did have to get a letter from the CAGBC that applies, that the South End Community Center exceeds that TEDI requirement, but because of the application, because at that time the zero carbon building standard was really around commercial buildings and not for this application. We talked on emergency stuff. So on the emergency side, I don't know how we're going to get away from that. And maybe, you don't like, let's not lose sight of the bigger picture, the 360 days of the year, as opposed to those 5 days of the year where we're going to have to use gas for if we do. It's something that we did from a cost perspective in the electrification. For these buildings, instead of us spending more money for a big electrical generator, what we said was we're going to have electric heating, heat pump, and an electric boiler. We're going to also have a natural gas boiler as a backup. And then so that we only have to size our generator so that it can run the ancillaries for that boiler and then run backup natural gas so that we can still provide the hard systems. So something to consider
did you get a premium, like costed out for the net zero portion of the project? Because everyone asks what's the cost of the net zero?
No, I didn't.
Isn't this around 2% of what you see in the examples, right? You're showing here like single budget.
So that goes back to that context or that context slide. What are we dealing with within our organization? I've worked hard to be able to bully things through And I've just said enough where it's like zero carbon billing. Why are we doing zero carbon billing? Zero carbon billing, zero carbon billing. So this thing went from lead silver, then all of a sudden I don't know what it was. I think it was the targets or something. Oh, let's go zero carbon billing. I'm like, okay, let's do it. And so we did it, and that's why I don't see it as a separate, and that's why we haven't done that separation of costs. It might be there, and I can ask. It was kind of in my design shop, and then it's moved over as we got into the construction, and when that construction management stuff kind of happened, it's kind of changed. I don't think we have that information, but that what I'm saying. Sorry, just one second. What I'm saying again is like, is that a question we have to answer within our organizations, or is it a question that we think we have to answer within our organization? So everybody has their own minefield to manage and navigate through, and so it's how do we get to that point? I know I'm kind of rambling, but that's kind of what I'm saying. So go ahead.
I was wondering, for these two buildings, did you do financial feasibility analysis to compare the ZCB building versus base building? So to see what's the incremental cost would be like 5%.
Yeah, so early on, yes. So from an energy perspective, you do have to do it against that CB model building or whatever, and then see what the difference is, and from an operating perspective too. So a lot of those conversations were had when we were going to council saying, do we have the green light to go with this? Baker was kind of weird because there was a developer involved and the city didn't kind of fully own that process. It kind of got weird. But this one we did so more so in the early years. But then after a point, it was just like, yeah, community expects us to be zero carbon billing. We had the cooperators move their headquarters. Cooperators, the insurance company, they moved their headquarters and they came out, oh, zero carbon building. So now council's hearing it and it's like, hey man, if they're doing, why aren't we doing it? So that kind of helped too, right? So the business case, I don't think anybody is saying, oh, okay, let's go back to that business case and refresh it. Is it still kind of stand true? Or yeah, we're really counting on this or on that business case. Now it's just become, we're gonna do this. Is kind of what I was saying, and that's kind of why we don't have that cost differential. Or maybe I'm just kind of delusional on that. I don't know. Retrofits. So at our wastewater treatment plant, this one was one of our bigger projects. We just finished off construction on that. We were really behind with our wastewater treatment plant in terms of looking at iteration. What we're really doing is just putting VFDs on our blowers, which make up 2/3 of the facilities. So we did that, but what happened was it ballooned. Electrical infrastructure was falling apart. SCADA was falling apart, so it became a bigger and bigger project. We're seeing some significant reduction in at least the electricity side. 2.3 million kilowatt hours just this past month has been dropped off in the last rolling 12 months. And that's not with full operation of this. Huge project, disruptive for a wastewater treatment plant. We only have one wastewater treatment plant that has 4 plants within it. So it becomes very difficult for managing contractors. How are we processing? How long can we take the tank down? So there's a lot of thinking. Perspective on this. This was one of my early pet projects when I joined on again 7-8 years ago. I said, hey, we got to do this because I have some past experience with consulting on. Did the detailed engineering study, did the design, all those things, and we only got construction now. I mean, COVID happened and that really stalled on things. Delay claims and all that stuff too. So things that you have to really think about. So that construction side of that, the design side of it, the process, bringing the people in, that really comes to things when you get to those really complex projects. Heat pumps. Here's some air source heat pumps, rooftop packaged ones. They have reduced natural gas in a good way. They are not working 100% properly. I will be absolutely transparent on that. We are working with the supplier, with the contractor to kind of go and say, hey, why is it turning on natural gas at 10 degrees Celsius outside, right? So I'm not saying don't do it. Again, I'm saying, we probably tackled the 80%, 70% reduction in natural gas. Can we improve it a little bit better? So the market is evolving a little bit more. Our building automation system also has to to level up. Our maintenance staff also have to improve on how they're understanding these. What's really happening, I think, there are set parameters within the unit itself that we do not want to or can't control with BAS. And so manufacturers still trying to figure that out. These are very expensive units. We did get some GICB money for this. That really helped on actually not these two, but the other facility, the West End facility. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to go premium on these things. And the other thing is also look at heat recovery when you're doing that too first. The market is evolving. We're seeing a lot more options. So really what we're looking at, any rooftop project that we're doing, we are looking at heat pump, but we might not go gold standard. You know, might pull it back to silver until the market comes, depending on the usage. EAS master spec. I also want to tip my hat off to the city of Mississauga. They have an amazing building automation system master specification. I look at it and I salivate. We are in the process right now of taking on upgrading our master specification. We've gone this route of the term Niagara 4 is what we're using. So it's kind of this middle level thing. And then you can get Siemens, Honeywell, whatever, and they can kind of go in. Granted that it is under that Niagara 4 thing. So we're upgrading our RFPs so that we're saying it's got to be Niagara 4 compliant, backnet IP, stuff I don't understand. But this master specification is making it happen at that foundational level so that we have people that are pre-qualified so that they can kind of come along. They know what they're getting into, there's standard sequences, there's wire colors, all of those things. We are working with consultants to help us develop this. The other side of it too is really how it fits within our organization. What are the levels of authorization? Who can access it? You don't want Brian, the energy guy, going in there tweaking a whole bunch of stuff just because he feels like it, right? Energy team will just have trending ability and being able to monitor things and see issues. Maintenance guys are the ones that are going to be in there, right? Operators, what level do they have? We went through Vic Road, that energy thing. And I said to them, there were IR heat tubes at the stands in the rink, and they were on, and nobody was in the stands. And you ask Brogy, who's our operator, it's like, hey man, how come you can't turn those off? He's like, it's on the BAS. And I don't have access to it. So these are the things that we got to tackle, those simple things, and there's going to be huge savings with that. We're doing something at River Run, our Performing Arts Center, looking at it through a BAS lens to kind of monitor where things are happening. Every single valve in that building is falling apart, and we're just running heat through the summer, so we got to tackle that. Go ahead, Jody.
I haven't seen it, but I'm excited to look at the Mississauga spec. Does it include naming conventions as
Yes.
well, all the way down?
Yeah.
And what about report building and within that?
I wouldn't say necessarily report building, but alarms and stuff like that. But like it is literally going to like wire spec to the thing about that though is it's great that you have this specification. It's how do you implement it into your facility, right? So we talk about a lot of retrofits. We're not going to just go and pull that out and then put this in. So there's got to be a transition plan. A lot of our stuff is on a protocol called MSTP. We have to look at, okay, so if we're doing MSTP and migrating over to this backnet IP under the before, how does that kind of work? So the architecture kind of allows for it. Lighting we're doing, that's always a good thing too. There's still lots of opportunities with that, including our street lights, which are extremely expensive with the decorative street lights. Challenges, kind of like what we're saying, limited funds. That's the thing. Old facilities and the retrofit stuff, those are real construction challenges, making it more complex. And then yeah, like I was saying about that BAS, so it's disorganized, it's misunderstood. How do we kind of get that evolving?
Do you have any supplementary systems?
We do not. And so what we're going to do is we're looking to leverage the BAS to do that. I really don't want to have disparate systems doing that. But I also do challenge, what are we going to do with that data? So you have to be really strategic in where you're getting your energy data and be really committed to look at it. It's like you have it, you don't use it. You don't have it, you really want it, right? So it's kind of a how we're processing it. So it really is just the utility data. So we hire, so I'm going to go back to ISO 50001. So ISO 50001 is corporate. That's our overall portfolio. our sub meters are the utility meters by resource, so electricity, water, and all that. And then so all that's going into, we use a firm, NUS Consulting. They have their dashboard system. They have people that are taking all of our utility bills, digitizing it, then putting it on that dashboard. And that's what those graphs were that I was showing. And that's also why it doesn't completely jive with the GHG calculations. So what we're doing though too is understand the limitations of that. It's a dashboard. It is, we can't go, it's web-based, we can't tweak it. We can pull a bunch of fancy charts, that's it. So we're taking also that data and putting it into red screen and trying to have that when we need it, then we can do more deeper dives on where hotspot detection.
This question. Just wondering if you're doing any.
So we aren't. Not to say that we won't. There are requirements under the retro commissioning that, you know, this client or this consultant has to be certified, There's merits to that. The term retro commissioning also takes on many meanings, how deeply you want to get into it. So if it is that certified building retro commissioning, like I took that training and stuff too, right? Really, what we're doing is BAS guy, you know the system. Get in here, contractor. Let's go through the system together. Put up the screen. What's going on? Okay, now let's go and test. Is that sensor reading it, calibrate it, zero it? Is that valve moving when it has to happen? Is that VAV damper moving when you're telling it to? Just based on that, it's just falling apart. And so I'm not saying don't get a certified commissioner to do it, but if you have a contractor that knows the facility and you trust them, there's an option that would be as well.
Second program is like the investigation phase, 12 months versus maintenance. It's another step. Probably 3 years. I'm not sure that's something we need to go along with. I'm just wondering if any other needs your participating.
3 years sounds nice.
People all that are going to that's
We've done a lot of retro commissioning in the past. We're not using that program. There is a value to that exercise. And the reason why it's long is because you all have 3 seasons of testing. And that's very valuable. And then we found kind of what Guelph has done is we used to do that out of house, and now we're doing that in house. It's quicker, it's more effective. You see some trying to change as opposed to this whole process. You get a report, then you go to the contractor. But if you haven't done the first step yet, it's a good experience because it's built fast.
We all need a Scott. Yeah, so and we also identified it using that utility level. We said, hey, runs using way too much gas, right? And then we started kind of focusing through. And then yeah, the all season stuff is super. Did you have a question?
I don't want to take too long, but I can ask you.
Yeah. Hello. Oh yeah, sure. But
Besides the same facility, like the furnace example. It can be used for if you have a shared meter.
a shared meter between 2 or 3 buildings.
Because we have this problem, we have like
That's
for a gas, we have only 1 meter and it's like over 3 different buildings and have so many which building is it.
yeah.
And we try to have the visualization system you want for the same building and some meter at the same time. We try to separate those together, but I think as a consulting says at the end of your measure how much goes in it. Solution for this?
So I mean, I think it's more like, what are you going to do with that data? How do you want to access that data, right? So if you want to access that data through the building automation system, or so then it would be like I'm thinking to one of our, like we have a cogen at community centers, which is not, anyways. We put a gas sub meter on it. And then so then we just took the points off of that, put it on a building automation system, because that's the thing that we're looking at. But we didn't really use that data again. And so like if it's 3 separate buildings and you're saying, okay, these are 3 separate owners and you want a sub meter, or sorry, you want to maybe build an invoice for those people. You could still do it through the building automation system, but maybe you could also, if it doesn't need to be in the building automation system too, you could do a sub meter because it's a unique setup. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why we're saying to do it in the building automation system is because currently we don't have situations where we need it to be invoice level, and it's just more for our knowledge from an energy tracking perspective. But if it's something where you did have we rented a pool out of a high school before, now it's closed down. They had an electrical sub meter, and then they were using that partly because they didn't have a BAS, but they were just doing that and they wanted to separate out costs. Does that help? Technically, everything can be done. It's just how do you want the data? Renewables. So solar PV. So we have 13 sites now online. We've done a contract with pre-qual to get the tire kickers out of there. Solar is pretty bad for that. So we want to make sure we get quality people. We had a pump station out there, so the Burke Well. So Deepa just got this one up and running the other day, so that's going up and running. Tijo is going to be doing the River Run with an expansion there. So there's a microfit. We're expanding on that, not as a microfit, but a net meter that's going to be there. A lot of these sites were old microfits in there. And then we had some bigger ones. And then wastewater, we're looking at another facility. And then CRESC, sorry, our Road Emergency Services Center, we're looking at probably another one in the 70, maybe 100 kilowatt range. So we are kind of growing our solar stuff. One of the things that we did last year was we looked at a lot of our systems weren't working. And so our microfit systems were, some of them are reaching about 6-8 years, maybe. Actually, no, it would be longer than I was there. So, and a lot of them weren't working. So we just didn't know. And then you'd get the letter from the utility, oh, this thing's not working. Did you know? No, we didn't. So we went out, we put Cashlin systems on all of them so that we can bring them all over, get them all onto this enterprise setup so that we can track them a little bit more, going through a process so that we can monitor them to make sure Deep is going to be the operating person to kind of look at how the system is running and making sure that they're all green lights. So that's really important, I find, with the solar stuff, and having a good contractor that can do the regular maintenance repair work as needed. I'm going to touch on renewable natural gas. These are our big moves for the city. Again, we're single tier, so we have these opportunities. Organic waste composting. So we have a composting facility, 30,000 tons per year right now. Takes 20,000 tons from the region of Waterloo, 10,000 from the city of Guelph. I see a huge opportunity in that 3,000, 5,000 ton CO2 kind of range. If we were to take that, let's make it into anaerobic digestion. Let's recover that digester gas, clean it up, and put it as renewable natural gas. The reason why we're saying to put it as renewable natural gas, there's limited heat requirements in the process for organic waste composting. So no cogen because we just don't have anywhere to put it. Wastewater is a similar story. So there isn't much heat required. I mean, there is requirement for Listec and steaming and all that stuff, but not as much as we can use. We do have anaerobic digesters on site. We do run a cogen. The cogens are coming down. They're right over here. They're getting long in the tooth, so we got to replace those. We've looked at ways where if we can take the incoming effluent, have an industrial heat pump, and a shark system maybe, and then recover the heat, have that deal with the process load of keeping those digesters warm, and take all the digester gas, put it as RNG, and give it to the places that do need it. And so those are the big things here. To give this kind of perspective, we have a Race to Zero target of 63% reduction against 2018 baseline by 2030. That amounts to, if we take out that per capita equation, that's about 10,000 tons that we have to take out of our corporate emissions to support the broader community. target. So you can see we're getting in those scales, and those are the things that we got to do. I'm not saying we don't do the heat pumps or we don't do the solar panels and all that other stuff. That's kind of our bread and butter and filling in the gaps and doing all those things, zero carbon buildings and all that other stuff. But we also have our big moves right over there. Grid constraints are a big issue. You have to look at natural gas and seeing if the grid can handle that, electricity as well, and all those things. High capital, super risk adverse. These are big moves. We're talking probably the organic waste, $50 million thereabouts range, depending on size. It's also, how does it work within the market? There is available organics, but there is a commodities play in that, being able to make sure that you're filling your system. And then the wastewater side of it, smaller capital because we already have some of the infrastructure, but still in the millions, 10 million, 20 million, maybe, I don't know. I forget what the look at was. And then economies of scale. So I was saying, we aren't the center of the universe. Toronto's been great too, actually. We've been talking with the folks in Toronto for their organics or their anaerobic digestion. We don't have that same volume. So when you're coming down with anaerobic digestion for organic waste compost or organic waste, you really get the costs, the economies of scale when you're building up that. Transit electrification. So we're doing this with ISIP money. We've got our 7 long-range 40-foot buses. Each bus is about 90 tons of CO2. This is also one of our big moves for carbon emissions reduction. We've installed 3 150 kilowatt chargers with multiple dispensers. We're getting our 4th, and we're looking at depot pantograph. We're doing the design, I mentioned this, the design construction of that new electrification transit hub. We're fortunate that we get to do kind of green, start from a blank slate. TTC has been great in terms of helping us along that journey, as well as their agency calls and talking to all the other agencies across North America on what the different challenges are. Buses, chargers, facilities, all that stuff. It's wild. We're also looking at design construction for a central terminal. I was on a call on that this morning. Looking at 2 450 kilowatt on-road chargers, kind of like ones at Brampton along with Steeles. So we have a central terminal there. That's going to help us get going with our transit expansion for electrification into our new transit fleet services facility, which we're trying to bring online for 2029 because it got pushed out due to budget stuff and express that we're still doing. But we're going guns blazing, at least for the design. Market growing pains. So bus manufacturers are falling. Like they are literally falling. Like Proterra went bankrupt. New Flyer is getting screwed over with a whole bunch of backlog. Nova's asking for more money because they're losing their shirts on every bus. So it's some things to think about. Siemens is extremely slow in terms of getting their supply chain sorted out and certified. ABB is the same. So it's just, there's a lot of change, and we're seeing it even in the passenger vehicle side, but like amplified huge buses. Charging infrastructure constraints, so working with our utilities, making sure that there's enough of a pipeline to get the electricity to state. Our existing transit garage is 750 kilowatts, our KVA. We upgraded from 300 to 750. When we have this new facility, now things have kind of changed, but this new facility is going to probably be in that range of 8 megawatt that once we have the charging. So you can see, even on the central terminal, just 2, we're looking for the future. That's 2 megawatts just charging, right? So how do we get that in the heart of downtown? And so you really have to work with electric utilities or your utility company, but also we have to also talk metro. High cost, we spoke on that. Operational change management. So transit is also learning how to operate these things. What's their yard management, how they're doing that. And then the shiny distractions. So there's just a ton of stuff like, snake oil, and people are getting distracted with that. It's just really trying to keep people focused on, we're doing this because you need to expand your public transit, not because you're electrifying. So we're expanding that. Oh, and guess what? We're going to electric buses. That's why we're also doing that too. So that's that side benefit. I'm gonna say one more thing. I'm hearing on the market that they will stop making diesel buses and hybrid buses. So just something to think about.
I just wondering who is maintaining those chargers and if they're connected to the ES or not. It's just the regular.
These guys in
Yeah,
particular,
those guys, yes.
so those are in our depot. We're not letting, it's not public, right? It's only for the
Yeah.
buses. Siemens is the one who installed it. We're still kind of going through that installation and warranty stage. They are up and running. They are maintaining it in terms of if we see it, we put the service request, they come in. We do want to buy a maintenance package afterwards, especially when we start getting pantographs. That gets really dicey. And if they're out in the elements, then it's just like, oh my God. So I'm a little concerned about that, but that's what you gotta do.
Is there any consideration for RNG buses while the city is struggling with
Not a chance.
now?
There are a lot of moving, well, so I'm on the anti-CNG camp because there's a lot of moving parts with it, and you have to have a compressor station to deal with that too. If you don't have that infrastructure, you might as well not start, right? So Hamilton's in a great spot.
Right.
They can do it. They also have RNG coming from Woodward. So they have it, right? But yeah, there's a lot of details in that, and our organization will be that.
I'm just cautious for.
Sorry.
Questions after.
And this is the last slide. So really the other priorities, affordability, cost, all those things, budget crunches, that relates to it. This one's a huge one for me, the community missions. And community files coming over into it is in our, as much as I deny it, it is in our portfolio. I don't deny it, I accept it. But it's tough, right? And I'm really looking around the room, like, how do we do this as a corporation, understanding where we can add value and not just noise, How do we work? And so that's why I'm trying to push on this to really meet with the community at an equal footing, peer to peer. We can't hit our targets without you guys coming to the table and looking at a different sector, right? So looking at where our residents are. So things like Guelph Greener Homes, that might do it, or even just an awareness campaign. Nobody knows about our targets. Let's talk to them. They're disorganized, they're spread out across the community. Let's think about how we do it. On the institutional, commercial, and industrial, they're more organized. They have more resources. Let's listen to how they're doing it. Let's put it very clear. Let's all focus on this target. Everybody go about it. How are you going to do this? Let's come back. And so we're looking to do a local stock take every year. How can we have our mini COP? Just say, here's our targets. We're making progress. We're not. What are we all doing? Go about it. Do your stuff. Come back. How are we doing? And just keep doing that. And so that's what we're aiming to do at the end of the year. And then transportation, hopefully the electrification side, and as we support on public chargers and things like that too, what policies we can have there as well, that can come down. And then the emissions, we're trying to map those out with those future emissions for landfill and our wastewater treatment plant a little better. That's it. I'm sorry I went way over time, but yeah, I'll stop there.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, Brad.
I'm sure during the lunch you can catch up with Ryan with more of the